Brandon, we're about to have a pretty long break between Thunder games. What are you going to be watching?
I've been watching a bunch of Apple shows. Margot's Got Money Problems is a fun new show with Elle Fanning and Michelle Pfeiffer and Nick Offerman. Ron from Parks and Rec, he's awesome in it. Also, Your Friends and Neighbors, and this new show called Widow's Bay. There's only been like 3 episodes that are out so far, but have you heard of that one?
I haven't. Well, I think I've seen a little plug on Apple TV, but I haven't actually watched any of it.
So it's really good. It's like this strange, unique combination that I've never seen where it's like comedy meets horror mystery. It takes place in this like, this town by the sea, small little town. The mayor is the main character and he's trying to get tourists to come to the town, but at the same time, it might be haunted and it might legit be haunted. There's like true like horror in it. But there's also like a lot of real hilarious comedy too.
So when you say horror, and I am not a person who enjoys being jump scared, am I going to get jump scared?
I would say yes. Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. I don't want to like tell you not to watch it because I'm enjoying it so much. But if you get jump scared and you don't enjoy that, I don't know if I'd watch it if I were you. Maybe just watch all the comedy parts, then fast forward it once it gets a little creepy.
Yeah, I'm the little kid. I'm going to cover my eyes during those parts where it gets a little bit creepy. Can't handle it. Too scary for me.
Yeah, just sit on your wife's lap. You'll be fine.
Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar. Brandon, how are you on this sweep day after the Thunder wrap up the second round against the Lakers in a 4-0 series sweep?
Sweep day. I'm getting used to these sweeps. It's crazy. Back-to-back sweeps. The Thunder are 8-0. I'm doing well. The Thunder have another week off, which means Thunder fans and Thunder reporters, we all have a week off as well. We could just kick back and see what's going to happen in this Wolves Spurs series now.
Yeah, and I think, the sweeping has really got people's attention because I've had 2 people at work today ask me, are the Thunder going to lose again?
Yeah, I will say they have been dominant. And I know the Suns are a play-in team. And I know the Lakers didn't have Luka, but it is hard to sweep a team, no matter who the team is. And this Lakers team without Luka did kind of dominate that Rockets team. Say what you want about the Rockets team, but these are playoff teams. And no matter the situation, when you have to go on the road against a team with LeBron James, even at 41, and a team with Austin Reeves and some really solid role players, to sweep any team is impressive. To do it back-to-back in the first and second round, incredibly impressive. As far as that question goes, I think they'll eventually lose a game in the Western Conference Finals. They might lose a couple of games, but the dominance so far has been truly impressive.
Yeah, and even me, I think being very optimistic on this show, including the one person to predict that first round sweep against the Suns, I have to issue a mea culpa because I did predict 2 things for the series. One, that it would take 5 games. And even on the last pod, when given the chance to amend the answer, you amended it to a sweep. Cray stuck with the sweep. I stuck with 5. And then I also thought Luka would come back for game 3. So, I don't know anything. I'm just guessing, and sometimes I get it right.
Hey, don't be too hard on yourselves. The Lakers, and especially Jackson Hayes, of all players, almost made you correct. They almost forced the game 5, but Shai came in fourth quarter and did that clutch player of the year thing. Ajay Mitchell was incredible. Chet had some big buckets, but the Lakers almost pulled that off. They almost forced the game 5. Credit to the Lakers and JJ Redick, honestly, given the fact that they were completely outmatched, completely out-talented this series. They were going up against the juggernaut, the defending champs, the best team in the league. They didn't have Luka. Sure, OKC didn't have J-Dub. Okay, of course, that would have made a difference too. But still, I thought through 3 games, they were competitive for a half. And then in the final clinching game, they were competitive the entire way. They could have packed it in and been like, "Hey, we don't want to fly back to Oklahoma City for a game 5 where we're just going to lose by 30 points. Let's just pack it in." But they didn't. They made it competitive.
Yeah, and I was going to bring up JJ Redick and the game plan by the Lakers because I think that JJ actually had a pretty good series coaching despite a sweep. I think maybe about as impressive of a coaching job as you could have when your team is getting run off the floor in 3 out of the 4 games and you get swept. But I don't think JJ was stuck with his scheme. He was willing to make changes, willing to adjust. His team was competitive. I think their plan to really overemphasize stopping Shai would work for a half and then would start to fall apart because the depth of the Thunder was too much for the Lakers to keep up with. And I think it was a little bit different in game 4. The high traps and really just overselling to stop Shai was a little bit less aggressive in game 4. And you saw Shai break out. And that just shows you how many weapons the Thunder have that even when you design I think a pretty thoughtful game plan, there are too many people to stop on the side of the Thunder for you to be effective for all 48 minutes.
Yeah, I completely agree. 100% agree with that. I thought that Redick coached a really good series, and he did as well as he could, given the two rosters and the disparity in talent between these two teams. I thought they came up with a good scheme, to try to take the ball out of Shai's hands and make the other guys beat you. When you're outmatched, it's a good strategy. And I think that given the defensive personnel especially, it went about as well as it could. The problem is it's pick your poison. If you double and trap Shai like they did for so much of the series, he's going to make the right read. He's still going to get his, by the way. It may be not on the elite historic efficiency that we typically see from him, but it's still going to be pretty efficient. As we saw, and it may not be on as high a volume, but pretty good volume as we saw through 3 games. But then you've got all these players like Ajay Mitchell, Chet, Kaysen, Caruso, McCain, Isaiah Joe. These guys can get hot any given game. And the Thunder had a couple players every game who just caught fire from 3. And when you're playing 4-on-3 and the Lakers defense is scrambling because they're overloaded on Shai, the other guys can and will beat you. And then if you go the other way and you try to play Shai straight up, he's just gonna pick you apart. And this game we kind of saw both of those things. I think Shai had his best game statistically, obviously, 35 points, 11 and 22 from the field. He had 8 assists. He was especially great in the fourth quarter and closing time, like that turnaround fadeaway with the hand in his face. That was a huge bucket, that mid-range. Of course, the 3 that he had in clutch time, he had a couple of big intentional free throws that he iced, just ice cold in his veins. I thought Shai was great. And I don't think that Shai's statistics really do justice this series, because AJ, obviously amazing. Chet, obviously great all series long. But when you look at the gravity and all the defenders and all the schemes and all the traps, all the bodies they threw at Shai all series long, and he continually made the right read and he led his teammates. He gave them advantages that they picked apart. So I think you got to give Shai more credit than what his stats show.
Absolutely. And I think everybody, well, I think Shai was getting rightful credit for his incredible game last night. And it was a great reminder that, he's going to win the MVP. He's going to be a back-to-back winner, and really has a shot to be back-to-back champion as well. The other thing I was going to mention about this game and the competitiveness of the Lakers, because, I think you're right. The big question coming into this one was, would the Lakers come out and really try to win, or would they pack it in and already start planning their trip to Cancun? And they came to play from the opening tip. They came to play. They came to play hard. And even when the Thunder built that 12-point first half lead, Lakers fought back. When the Thunder had a 6-point lead in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, the Lakers fought back. And with most of the other games being blowouts in the third and fourth quarter, I got to admit, this one was fun. Like it was a nail biter and it was stressful and intense, but This was the most fun game to watch this entire postseason.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. And it was honestly the perfect situation and scenario for Thunder fans because you got to enjoy a competitive, close, tight game where Shai made great play after great play in the clutch. Ajay Mitchell stepped up. Chet had a couple of huge buckets. So your best players played so great and made so many clutch plays down the stretch. But the perfect scenario I'm describing was helped by the fact that the Thunder were 3-0 going into this. So even if they did lose this, like there was the safety net, like, okay, even if they do lose, they're just going to come back home in Oklahoma City, win game 5, win the series, blow them out by like 20 points. So it was kind of that fun situation where like, hey, hopefully they can come back and they can clinch this, they can sweep the series. And so you got to kind of have fun with it without the true stress of the series being in doubt. But yeah, credit to the Lakers. They were competitive. LeBron and Austin Reeves, Jackson Hayes, Rui, all these guys were great, and they just kind of exchanged blows. Both teams, I thought the Lakers made a bunch of tough shots like that. Austin Reeves 3 where Alex Caruso played like perfect defense on him, and he hit that 3 at the shot clock buzzer. That felt big at that point. LeBron had a couple of really deep threes with a hand in his face. So both teams played great. Both teams wanted it. The Lakers had the best crowd they've had this entire postseason because apparently they had a cheaper get-in price for Game 4 is what I saw. So I guess a lot of the true fans got to come. And so it was loud. It was a great environment. It was a fun game.
Yeah, I think you're right. The shot making by both teams down the stretch was really incredible, really fun to watch. The Lakers had some pretty incredible shots. Rui made that three-pointer after being fouled by Chet to make it a 4-point play. Marcus Smart got to the lane and converted an old-fashioned three-point play. But then, Shai was clutch, as he always is, but the contributions from other players was pretty valuable too. Chet, who was quiet through 3 quarters, was perfect 4 of 4 in the fourth quarter. And of course, he had the dunk for the Thunder to take the final lead of the game that they wouldn't relinquish. So that was huge. Ajay Mitchell had a pretty big 3-point bucket in the final 3 minutes of the game. I mean, just again, it's so easy to say, and you'll see that all over social media and Reddit, but just the depth of the Thunder is just so backbreaking for opponents.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Chet. He had that huge go-ahead bucket where the Lakers had taken the lead after that Thunder had that 6-point lead. They were up 109, 103, and then those 2 plays that you mentioned, the 4-point play and the 3-point play. So the Lakers take a 1-point lead at 110, 109, and then coming out of that timeout, Daignault drew up a great play. Shai has it at the top. Of course, they trap him. He hits Isaiah Hartenstein, who is rolling. Hart hits Chet at the rim, and he was surrounded by like 3 Lakers. I know LeBron was in there. Austin Reeves was in there. He pivots a couple times, has that dunk. It puts them ahead. He had a good putback earlier in the quarter that was big at the time. And that hopscotch jumper that AJ hit over Marcus Smart was amazing. Like his spidey senses kicked in and he knew to like jump over Smart as he was hitting the jumper. That was such a great play. I also want to mention Jared McCain. He hit 2 threes when the Lakers really seized all momentum at the end of the third quarter going into the early fourth quarter. And it looked like the crowd was into it. And maybe this is just one the Lakers were going to steal and we'd have to go to a game 5 in Oklahoma City. Jared McCain comes in, quick trigger, hands in his face, 5 feet behind the 3-point line. It didn't matter. He was putting the shots up, and he hit 2 threes, and they felt huge. It tied the game up, and I think it really changed the momentum and swung the game for the Thunder.
And that segues into a question I was going to ask, and I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this award that I want you to give out, but the Thunder contributions from Chet, from AJ, and from Jared McCain in this series were really, really impressive. And if you had to give an award to someone who isn't the MVP of the series, which is always going to be Shai because he's the best player on the floor, like I don't know. second most important player, or the player who impressed you the most this series, who would you give that award to?
I mean, with all due respect to Chet, because I thought Chet was amazing, I think you could argue that Chet was maybe the best overall two-way player in the series. I think you could also argue it for SGA. And then I think you could also argue it for the guy I'm going to pick. But I do want to give some credit to Chet because I thought he was outstanding on both ends. And I think a lot of things that he does, especially being an elite rim protector and the defender that he is, one of the two best defenders in the world, maybe sometimes gets overlooked when you just look at his box score and then his ability to stretch the floor and provide space on the offensive end, even if he's not knocking down threes any particular night, still has a big effect. All that said, you kind of have to go with AJ Mitchell here. Like, to step up the way that he did in J-Dub's absence, the Thunder needed a second shot creator, ball handler, playmaker, scorer, and he was all those things. He was incredibly efficient. He averaged like 22 and a half points per game. His playmaking was on full display. He didn't turn the ball over. He started in all these games. His defense on Austin Reeves was great. Like, he was just such an incredible player. It was his coming out party for everybody outside of the state of Oklahoma. Like, every Thunder fan knew what the Thunder have in AJ Mitchell, but to everybody else, this was the coming out party, and he was outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he deserves all the credit that he's been getting. And you kind of got to bow down to AJ Mitchell because this is his first real playoffs, right? He played some minutes last year, but he was recovering from his injury that kept him out of most of his rookie year. And to just take the reins the way that he has, to fill in without J-Dub, and not just play well, but really be the second best offensive player for the Thunder and torch the Lakers the way that he did. It's just mind-bogglingly impressive.
It is so impressive. He was the number 38 pick not even 2 years ago. Like, it is wild. And as a reminder, the OKC front office traded Lindy Waters and some cash to get into the second round. Then they traded up. Then they traded up again, all to ensure that they got AJ Mitchell. So 3 trades in the second round to get AJ. It is very apparent that they were targeting him and wanted him. And so while all these other teams had their chance to draft AJ Mitchell or make some moves in the second round, the Thunder identified this guy, went out and got him, and here he is. He's played less basketball than Con Knipple and Cooper Flagg, who are rookies this year because of unfortunate injuries that he had in his first and second season. And this is what he's doing in the playoffs. In LA, national spotlight as a starter. It is incredible what they have in AJ Mitchell.
I want to get your opinions on the Lakers because now the Lakers have been eliminated by the Thunder, and there are questions surrounding what LeBron's going to do. Is he going to come back? Is he going to retire? Is he going to go somewhere else? But a lot of the questions among Lakers fans is, what do they do about Austin Reeves? What is your scouting report on Austin Reeves? Because he can still put up points, but defensively, he was getting destroyed by the Thunder. And AJ Mitchell, I mean, his eyes got big, I think, every time he saw that Reeves was guarding him because he just knew he had a direct line to the basket. And then Reeves with the turnovers he just gave the ball to the Thunder time after time again. What's your scouting report?
It's tough because he is a great regular season player because, the defense is always going to matter, but it's not going to matter as much in the regular season. He can help you win a lot of games. If he's like Luka's number 2, his running mate, I think he can be a really effective player for the Lakers. And even in the postseason, he can score, he can play make. He's a great offensive weapon to have. Unfortunately, the Lakers don't have the defenders around him to cover up for the defensive issues. So they're in this weird state where he is a really good player, but in the playoffs, you need two-way players to win. And you see this with the Thunder, you see this with the Spurs, you see this, I think this season, especially, we're seeing this kind of move towards defensive teams and physicality. And when you're a non-defender, or to be more blunt, a really negative defender, and you can be taken advantage of, it really does hurt your chances in the playoffs when you got to play a guy heavy minutes, like near 40 minutes in a playoff series, and he can be picked on. He can be put in actions. So it's tough. Luka wants him there. He's been vocal about that. So I think that they'll re-sign him, and he'll probably make, I don't know, $40 million a year. And he is going to be a good player. But I think for the Lakers to really, have a chance in the playoffs, when Luka and Austin Reeves are your two best players and they're going to play heavy minutes, but they're both negative defenders, you're going to have to surround them with really positive defenders. For sure, a rim protector, at least one point of attack defender, and then at least another positive defender in the front court. So it's tough, but I think he's going to re-sign in LA and be there for a long time.
And since we've gone back to the Lakers, if you were to explain, because we did say nice things about JJ Redick, but if you were to explain why JJ Redick, with the Lakers down 3 in the closing seconds of the game, why he kept Rui on the bench, his best 3-point shooter.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what I saw. I can't remember who tweeted it out, but it was somebody connected. It was like an LA beat reporter or someone like that. Basically, the idea was obviously LeBron and Austin Reeves were going to be on the court. One of those two guys was going to take the shot, and then Luke Kennard was going to be out there as a decoy. And then was it Marcus Smart that threw the ball in? And then Maxi Kleber was going to be the screener because he was a good screener to try to get somebody open. So I guess that was the idea. So that's from kind of the horse's mouth from LA reporters of what the reasoning was. And, when explained like that, it makes sense. Everybody kind of had a role in that. But at the same time, Rui is not only the Lakers' best 3-point shooter, he is historically the best 3-point shooter in NBA playoff history. And he was on one again last night. He's been on one all series, all playoff long. So it's a tough look not to have him out there. You hate to beat up the Lakers for that, though. I mean, Redick for that, because he coached such a great series. And honestly, would it have made a difference? Probably not. The Thunder were going to play swarming defense on that possession. And honestly, I thought that they got a pretty good look anyways. But yeah, bottom line, should Rui have been out there despite the explanation? Yeah, he probably should have been out there.
Yeah, and they did get a good look. But yeah, it's tough if you're a Lakers fan to see your season go down without the player who I think shot 100% from 3 against the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't recall him missing a shot. I think that is accurate. Yes.
Yeah. So if you had him shoot that final shot, it was going to go in because Rui just was magic from 3. Well, let's talk, I guess, briefly about the other matchups. Primarily Wolves, Spurs. So we're recording this on a Tuesday. Game 5 is tonight in San Antonio. Wemby had that famous elbow that got him ejected from the last game. No suspension, no fine. So the Spurs will have Wemby back for Game 5. Do you think the Wolves can stretch this to 7 games?
I do think they can stretch it to 7 games. This Wolves team is a tough out, even without Dante DiVincenzo, even with Anthony Edwards not at 100%. They've been very, very impressive these playoffs. And yeah, they are not going to go down without a fight. If I had to say, Spurs probably win Game 5 at home, and then the Wolves win Game 6 in Minnesota. And then it's a Game 7. And although the Spurs are the better team and they'll have home court advantage, the Wolves do have the experience, and that will be should be a tight, competitive game. So I don't know. Obviously, the Spurs are probably going to win this series, but would it be shocking to see the Wolves win? I think it'd be surprising, but I don't know if it'd be shocking. this Wolves team has been to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, and now we're in a best of three. I do think it's going to go 7, quite honestly.
Yeah, it just feels like a 7-game series, but I'll tell you, I mean, we don't love the Spurs in Wemby in my household. It's really just me because my kids don't care about the basketball. But that aside, the way that he handled the MVP race and just his comments about how he plays ethical basketball or that kind of stuff. And then, of course, this elbow here, it's just I'm losing the incentive to root for Wemby. But I have to say, even watching that game when he went out, the way that the Spurs responded and their young players like Dylan Harper had a great game. Like they're impressive. I thought that this playoffs you'd see more mistakes from such a young team, and I think they are a well-coached team, and they have been impressive.
Yeah, here's the thing. I completely agree with that. And side note, I think that Wemby should have been suspended for 1 game. I think it's a wild precedent that he didn't even get a fine for that. Kind of crazy, if you ask me. But moving on, I do think this Spurs team is incredibly talented. They won a lot of games without Wemby this year when he was hurt. Because look, De'Aaron Fox is a 2-time All-Star. Dylan Harper was the number 2 overall pick. And the only reason he didn't go number 1 is because Cooper Flagg was in his class. He was a consensus number 2. Stephon Castle was the number 4 overall pick, and he's rookie of the year. Then you got really nice role players like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, who is 6th man of the year, Harrison Barnes, Luke Cornett is a solid backup center. So this is a very talented team, even besides Wemby. So it's kind of funny to me that Wemby gets all the credit for their winning and for their turnaround when this is a very, very talented team, even besides, the Wemby aspect of it all. And obviously he's great. He's incredible. But they are a very, very good team besides Wemby as well.
Yeah, and for all the credit that they should get for building the team through the draft like they have, and of course, not Fox, but they've done a good job to draft some really talented players. I mean, they have gotten like 18 straight top 5 picks too, so that helps.
Yeah. I tweeted out the most shocking result of the draft lottery was that the Spurs didn't end up with the top 4 pick despite their 0% odds. Like,
Yeah.
their lottery luck is unbelievable. Let's just call it what it is. And Spurs fans apparently don't like hearing this. If you look at NBA social media, but I mean, before they landed the number 1 draft pick, which just so happened to be the most generational prospect, maybe of all time, they had whiffed on Jeremy Sohan right before that. They had whiffed on Josh Primo right before that. If I remember right, it was like the number 9 pick and the number 11 pick, something like that, right before that. Then they get the number 1 in a generational prospect in Wemby. Then they get the number 4 spot, and Stephon Castle was the consensus player there. Everybody when they were picking, well, Castle is the best player left. And then they get the number 2 pick in Dylan Harper, who is also the consensus number 2. So all due credit to the Spurs, but they have had it's silly to say that they haven't had some all-time lottery luck. And then you can go back further when they got Tim Duncan, when they got David Robinson, both number 1 picks. They have moved up in the lottery more than any team in NBA history.
And that's where we'll get to kind of close the draft lottery. Was this last weekend? The Thunder had a 7% chance of getting into the top 4. They did not move up. They will pick at number 12. Were you disappointed? Because I will say I was pretty disappointed. I knew the odds were against the Thunder, but I so badly wanted the Thunder to move up just for the memes in addition to getting the player, but really for the memes.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Obviously the player, especially in this draft, when you're looking at those top 3 guys in AJ and Peterson and Boozer and even Caleb Wilson at number 4, adding a player like that, a blue chip elite talent to the defending champs, and the best team in the NBA would have been, just next level. But the meltdown on like NBA social media, like Twitter and Instagram and Reddit, Facebook, you like just pick your social media app, like just the meltdowns on all the national talking, broadcasts and all that stuff. Like Nick Ryder, those guys would have been just like amazing to witness. So yeah, I wanted to see it. And I never said it, but I was like, the number 12 pick has never moved up. It's due. Like if you go through it, like 11 has moved up, 10 has moved up. You go through and like, well, 12 is kind of next in line to move up if one of these spots is going to move up. So I thought maybe, there was better than that 7.1% chance, even though the math doesn't math on that. Just because the 12 spot was due. That said, in this draft, as incredibly deep and talented as this draft is, and you got Sam Presti picking, and if they target a guy, they need to move up a couple of spots forward. Now, they're not going to move up to like the top 4, anything like that. But if they really like a guy like Amara or Braden Burries or, whoever it is that's slated to go at like 8 or 9 or 10, they've got the assets to move up and get their guy like they did Casey Wallace a couple of years ago if they really want to. So, and they've had a lot of luck with the number 12 pick, by the way, as well. Great history with picking the number 12.
Yeah, and unlike the Spurs that need these top 5 picks or top 4 picks in order to be successful, we have Sam Presti who can pick at number 38 and get Ajay Mitchell. So I'm okay with number 12. I think it'll all work out.
Yes, absolutely. My suggestion to Sam Presti, as if he needs it, would be just pick a Michigan Wolverine, whether it's Mara, whether it's Morez Johnson, whether it's Yaxel. I think you can't go wrong if you're picking a Michigan Wolverine. I think all 3 of those guys are great fits.
Well, hopefully he's listening to the pod so he can take your advice to heart as he scouts who he might pick with that number 12 pick. But, that's a great place to end the show. We've got a long break. And if I watch that Willow Bay show and I have nightmares, I'm going to be blaming you, Brandon.
Let me know if you watch it, and let me know if you watch it and then have to stop watching it as well.
Because I'm too scared.
Right.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rahbar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future playoff episodes. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back in your feed soon.